going on? Welcome to Coast Connection. We got our boy from the NFL, Marques on. What's going on, my brother?
What's up, Vince? How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm going good. I got me and Mike G. Mike G's going to be navigating as we're going through this real quick because we know you got a busy schedule, man. Hey, so Marques, you know you got a great book out there, and you touched on some key points about being at the top and going back down. So let me ask you a quick question. Since you have been in NFL and you've got the taste what it's like to be in the promised land of football, what was your perspective of getting in the NFL, the drive to get into the NFL, the be in there, and then, you know, to have what I don't consider a fall. I consider it a lesson learned to regroup yourself. So could you hit me back on just the process, man?
Yeah, man. So got to NFL. I had a really great experience. The drive to get there was the drive to do and be your best. I loved football in college. I had no plans of being an NFL athlete. When I got to Howard, became a starter as a redshirt freshman, 4-year starter, went to the Hula Bowl, got coached by Mac Brown. He was my head coach, who's now at North Carolina Chapel Hill. He was at Texas at the time when he was coaching me. I got coached by Jack Harbaugh, the father of Jim and John Harbaugh.
Harbaugh's coach, all right.
Yeah, I had a great time, man, and a lot of great experience, and football taught me a lot. And the NFL, man, was the pinnacle of the height of sports and how what you need to be and do your best. And football taught me a lot, man, about life and how to be a great athlete, but also how to be a great businessman, how to transition. And then, of course, I had my fall after my NFL career in my business, lost everything, moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, had to start over. And very fortunate today, we have a very successful business. I'm a speaker, coach, consultant, 3-time best-selling author. And I'm actually a podcast host of the Get Authentic with Marques show.
Right, I'm tracking you.
Yeah, we got into the top 2.5% globally ranked after only a month of being out.
Hey, man, you know, that's a great story that, you know, the rags to riches is what we used to say. But, you know, now let me ask this question from family perspective, from your parents' perspective. What's your background? Did you come from a middle-class family and, you know, you got into football and you surrounded yourself and then you got into the grind, or was it that, a lot of people, they come from humble beginnings and they get to the NFL because it was the one thing they had to drive, like Ike and a whole bunch of others are always talking about, I need to get to the NFL to take care of my family. So what's your background, man?
Great question, man. So I was raised in a 2-parent household, upper middle-class family. Then when I was 8 years old and my parents divorced. And when my parents divorced, that's when things got hard for me because my father burnt through all of his savings, putting my brother through high school. And then when I got to high school, he was pretty much tapped out and it was scrounging. Like I remember, roaches in our cereal box and molded cheese in the refrigerator and yeah, and not having any heat in the house, having to sleep in a burning furnace in the summer times. But you know what? I never left my father's side. I could go and stay with my grandmother, my mother, all that type of stuff. But my father was my best friend. So he was going through all his struggles. I never left his side. And then I went to college at 17 years old, got to Howard, and finally had air condition and heat and food that wasn't rotted out and all this other type of stuff. But you know what, man? I wouldn't trade it for the world because without my father and his guidance, I wouldn't be who I am today.
So many people don't know the struggle of just going through that scenario. I know part of that and we've all lived it, but I think it just makes you a stronger person. So you were talking about becoming an entrepreneur after leaving the NFL and becoming a businessman. So, kind of give us a shape of, now that that you've left the NFL and retired, and now you're left the NFL and now you're shaping your life and going into entrepreneurship. And what was your background? How much you went to Howard? So what was your major in? And then do you think you were successfully prepared to start your business?
So I have a degree in finance from Howard. To answer your question, absolutely not. I should have never got to construction when I left the NFL, but I was chasing big check syndrome. And unfortunately, what happened to me is I had a lot of success early on. And I was not prepared to handle that success. I have a saying, if you don't handle success, success will handle you.
That is a true statement.
And it handled me, man, because I made a lot of money, had a lot of growth, had a lot of things going on, and then pow, I ended up going bankrupt in 2013 because my ego, the biggest silent killer of them all, took me right down and put me right into the ashes. I was a phoenix. I had to rise again, but it
Right.
took me a long time, man, to get out of that ashes because for so long I blamed everybody else, my partner, blah, 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 blah. And because of that, I put myself in a position where I couldn't get myself back on even keel. And it took me a rock bottom moment of clarity with somebody's trash, rotten meat, nasty protruding garbage go in my body, my skin, and my clothes.
Right.
And that was my wake up call to get me where I am today.
Amen. And the thing is, you're talking about the rising part of losing everything, and then at the construction. And the thing is, you were winning at the gate. And so, do you think there was just some minor business? Because the reason I'm bringing this up, and I want you to kind of deep dive into this, is because there's other African Americans, micro businesses guys out there. They're trying to follow their dreams and their aspirations, and and they're trying to get to that pinnacle of being able to generate money. And I talk about this all the time about minority-owned businesses, is that we don't have enough people that talk about their experience. But if I go online right now, there's a ton of different people giving information that they've been where you were at, but they don't look like me. So the question I got for you is that, are you taking your lessons learned and you're passing it back to the African American community, or just we're got it all communities? But we need to start kind of pushing to make sure that we have young men in our own community to start become entrepreneurs, because I believe in more graduation and less incarceration. I'll just be clear.
Oh yeah. So for me, that's where I started. I started speaking to minorities, all good, black, all types of minorities, and of course white as
Right.
well. But I started with sports, youth football, middle school, high school, colleges. Like that was the group that I could get in front of that I had credibility on. And I started talking about making better choices and not just being an athlete and preparing for life after sports. And then as my speaking grew, thank God, I got into corporate and then grew from there. But I started out with athletes. I started out with the sports, the football programs,
Right.
the Pop Warners, because I wanted to get those guys thinking about, hey, there's more to life than just football, and you have to prepare for that next phase of your life, because no matter what you think, it's coming. Might be today, might be in 20 years, but it's definitely coming.
Yeah, I tell everybody I play football and everything. I tell people all the time, there's an expiration date on no matter whatever you do. There's an expiration date.
Absolutely, there is.
So now now that you're a best-selling author, you do really well with your book, and we look through them, and you talk about your story. So what are you trying to do now? And what are your biggest things for your business that you're trying to do to emulate to kind of help the next generation be a better version of themselves?
So right now I have a lot of speaking, coaching, consulting, high ticket items. We're in the process of creating some lower ticket items like
Right.
online courses where people who can't afford our $10,000 or $15,000 hour talks are looking, or our coaching, they can come and get the information that they need to get them where they want to go. So that's our focus right now, working on some of the what I call the online products and services to
Right.
get people, where they want to be through coaching around leadership or culture enhancement or development or, marketing and sales, things of that nature, to get them out of the mindset just because I can't afford the high ticket doesn't mean I still can't get that information to get to the next level.
Right. And and it's great you say that, because that is me and you talk, on and off now and then, I'm a retired general. So we talk about leadership or whatever. But I think the thing I've looked at since I've retired from the military, definitely, is I've tried to reach back to the community, which doesn't have that funding to meet the benchmarks that you just hit. And I think it's so important. And so I kind of teach right now on the side just to try to give back to the community. So overall, do you have any nonprofits or any organizations that, like, Kick or Pass or something that you got going on that, the inner city kids or in general children that are struggling financially because they got the single parent home, they don't have the nuclear family, and they still need, to hear your voice? How are you, reaching out to them, my brother?
Oh, yeah. My first ever keynote, first one before I did a sports program, was the Boys and Girls Club of Raleigh, North Carolina. My grandfather worked for them as a volunteer for 62 years of his life.
Wow.
So I was very honored and very just pleased to have that be my first ever keynote job. That was in October 2013, not paid. Ralph Capps, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, brought me in to talk to their board of directors at a fundraiser event. That was my very, very first ever keynote job. And I've done a lot of work with the Boys and Girls Club, different programs after school. I was in Kentucky doing a job in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. I stopped at the Boys and Girls Club, talked to them, and probably about 250 kids in the inner city of Hopkinsville. Very underprivileged, very low class area, but I wanted to go back and give my time, and I enjoyed it. So absolutely, the Boys and Girls Club is something I give a lot of my time and my effort to.
Okay, yeah, and that's good because I got a lot of friends that work with them, and right now I coach varsity football, so I'm constantly every day in a very farm town community that I drive to, and just trying to actually always drop that knowledge. So you wrote your book. And now you've established yourself as a successful keynote speaker. You've established yourself back as a businessman and growing. So as your connections with the NFL have really helped you as you've grown, or have you kind of broke away from the NFL? I know you still have relationships with them, but overall, have you become like the Marques show itself by itself?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I enjoy going back to give to the NFL. The Buffalo Bills are clients of mine. I coach a lot of retired guys. I just had Reggie Walker, 7-year NFL linebacker veteran, on my podcast today. We interviewed Brett Favre last Wednesday. It comes out. I saw that. Comes out August the 8th. And we're all about giving back, man. It's a brotherhood. That's how I actually got started with my new podcast. It's a collaboration with the NFL alumni, and we're so excited because now we have an opportunity to give back to them and do things like that. So it's really exciting in that regard.
Okay. So that now that you work with the Boys and Girls Club, and now you're working with the NFL, what do you see your future, man? What do you think going down the road? What is your grandiosa thing that you're trying to accomplish in the end here?
Grandioso, honestly, is to grow the podcast to be one of the biggest and best that there is, because we've really got something special, and we already have close to 100 5-star ratings in less than a month. We've had on amazing people. Top 2.5% worldwide in less than a month. And I feel with the right guests, with the continuing marketing, with the right approach, and with the right type of setup, we can really grow this to be a real powerhouse and just touch as many people as possible. I like Joe Rogan. I have a problem with Joe Rogan. People don't like his antics, all that stuff, and some things he says don't make a lot of sense. But that's okay.
He's not the only one, man. He's not the only one.
But that's fine. But he reaches about 15 to 20 million people per episode. So I want to, and we want to, create that type of product with our podcast, because now there's just me and it's no other host, and we can grow it nicely, and we can be very systemic with our partnerships and things like that. Right. I feel it's going to really be a home run over the next couple of years and grow into something really special. So that's really the big thing we're working on right now. Online products and services, but also to grow the podcast to touch as many people as possible to inspire them to new heights.
All right, so I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to work hard to try to get you in front of some veterans and get you in front of some of the younger military members out there, because everybody needs to have a journey, and everybody has a story, and then sometimes hearing somebody else's story changes their lives, man. And and me and Mike Chief really appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy, and we didn't want to hold you up, but definitely I'll touch base with you. But hey, honestly, you are a beacon of light for a lot of young people. Don't ever let that light go out, brother, and I appreciate you so much. And as we always say here at Coastal Connection, keep it rolling.
Appreciate y'all, brothers.